Right then, should we get into some nerdy news?
Yes, let's get into some news.
So we're going to start off with more Echo. I'm going
Yes.
to move to one bit about Echo that's further down, higher up to make more sense.
Okay.
So Echo
Mm-hmm.
has topped both the Hulu and Disney Plus charts as like their best show at the minute, as like their
Yes, it
best
has.
thing on the platform at the minute, which is stunning news. Really, really
Oh,
good news.
It's great considering following Loki, which was already a huge success for them, to then smash it with Echo straight out the gate. Like,
And also, Echo's a harder sell.
yeah, it
Loki
is.
has the backing of Avengers films and Tom Hiddleston, who's a superstar, and this, that, and the other. And it was season 2, so already all them people who were invested in it.
Mm-hmm.
Echo was a side character from
Yep.
Hawkeye
Yep.
that was being given the limelight deservedly, but it's a harder sell.
Oh yeah, it is.
Especially when you've got all these
Well,
bullshit arguments about woke bullshit and this, that, and the other, trying to like deter from these kinds of projects.
yeah, I do think it's a harder sell in the sense of who the character is. I think it has a slight advantage of, because it's the Marvel spotlight, they were selling it as, you don't need to have watched any of the MCU stuff. Like, if you liked MCU and you want something, like, here's a thing you can watch, you don't need to worry about watching all this other stuff. And like the people like us who watch everything, if we had a friend who was like, and we're like, oh, Echo's coming out, you don't need to watch anything else. And they're like, oh, okay, maybe I'll watch it then. Because a lot of the Marvel stuff, we're like, oh, well, you need to watch this, this, and this to understand what's about to happen. So it's easier in that sense.
Homework is huge.
Yes. Definitely, I think has helped it.
Alakwa Cox is doing a press tour for Echo.
She is.
She's been doing a trip of Good Morning America. She was on Jimmy Fallon the other night. This isn't really news, but I just want to shine a light on her. She's brilliant.
Yeah, she's doing a great job.
After the Marvel, I kind of went, Amon Valeni's great. Everyone needs to be nice to her, otherwise we're going to have problems. She has now been put in that bracket. We like these. They're good people doing good things who care about the projects. Once again, she wasn't really an actress before this. This is like her first big role.
Which is huge for her.
She was job hopping before this.
Which is wild.
They loved her so much, instead of trying to cover up her leg amputation, they built it into the character of Echo.
Yep.
Because they were like, no, you're brilliant. We will make it work. The cast and crew love her so much. They went and learnt some ASL because they wanted to show her that they cared and they wanted to make an effort. She is out there championing this, doing stuff that is scary and intimidating to do at the best of times, let alone when you've not been doing it since you were young and been properly media trained, this, that, and the other.
That's the thing.
And you're having to worry about an interpreter that you're having to interact with to answer questions. She is smashing it.
Considering this is like her first big thing, and it's a Marvel, to get chucked in like the deep end of doing all these talk shows and different things, which for the most part, even the big trained actors don't always enjoy having to do that stuff.
Yeah.
She's smashing it. She's doing a great job.
She's out there being a real champion of both inclusivity, but she's also being a stunning role model for little girls, Native Americans, people with disabilities everywhere. She's just like, nah, there's no stopping us.
Yeah.
So shout out to her. She is amazing. Star Wars is reportedly getting its own version of What If.
We're going to get a good guy, Anakin.
Which, I mean, Star Wars fans, since the second What If's first season came out, were like, can we get a Star Wars one? This would be fun. And I didn't think it was going to happen. I'll be completely honest. I thought they'd be like, no, we won't do that. That's a Marvel thing. But they're doing it, apparently. So I am requesting a trade.
Yeah, so
Star Wars, you could have What If. You can do your own What If episodes. We would like Visions. We would like a Marvel season of Visions, please. I would like to see a claymation.
I like this
Hulk
idea
versus Wolverine.
Yeah, this is the thing. I like. Obviously, when I saw your little comment on it, and I was like, oh, I wonder how that would work. And I was like, well, they could. Oh yeah, that could work because they can use the Marvel characters, and then they can just tell their own stories in their own animation styles. Yeah. So yeah, I'm all for like a Marvel Visions.
Have some. Literally go to these studios. Go. What character would you like to do? Try and stay away from our super big characters because that's going to limit your freedom a little bit. Have some fun.
Do you know,
Imagine them getting hold of like a really niche character and just being able to have fun with the art style. Oh,
if they do that, if they happen to do like a flip and Marvel gets to Visions, I am saying it now, but I want one episode to be done by the kid that did the Lego Spider-Man.
oh, what a Lego episode!
And let that kid do a full little short, like a full thing all done by him, and it's Lego Spider-Man again, or it's Lego something else.
I will wait for as long as it takes, as long as he doesn't have to overwork himself. If it takes him a year to do it by himself, taking it at a respectable rate, I will wait. Yes, I want it. Give it now.
That'd be such a good. That's such a
Yeah,
good way to give that kid another
yeah,
opportunity to do something cool.
absolutely. But yeah, so Star Wars What If, very cool. I'm also very excited for that. But
Yeah,
bearing in mind as the general rule, you're the Star Wars representative, I'm the
I'm
Superman
so.
representative. We would like visions.
There's also like think of the voice actors that'll come back. Like we'll
You could
probably
have
get
so much fun.
yeah, and it's
It's
like
gonna be so
we can
good.
have Darth Maul stuff. You can have Qui-Gon
Oh
Jinn. Um, there's a lot like what if I don't know. What if Obi-Wan went to the dark side instead?
yeah. Yeah, what if Obi-Wan joins Anakin? What if
What if
Qui-Gon doesn't die?
what
Like,
if Luke went to the dark side, joined
uh,
Vader? Like
don't get me wrong, I hope we get some quirky, weird ones as well.
yeah.
Like, just stupid
What if
ones.
the
That'll be fun.
zombies?
Yeah, like, give me some stupid ones, but there's
What
some
if the
real fun ones we
Ewoks
can
were
have as well.
zombies?
Yes. What if the Ewoks were worse than the
No,
Empire?
yeah. What if the Ewoks were zombies and it's like they're in the forest and then there's just these zombie bears start attacking them?
So, going back to what we said last week about
Yes. Moving on.
Daredevil
Yeah.
and the Netflix shows being canonized.
Yes.
So we got a little bit of clarification about that. So Daredevil Born Again has been undergoing some creative changes because they
Mm.
realized it wasn't quite working.
Yeah.
And as part of that process, they realized the Netflix stuff had to be made canon.
Yeah.
So they made that decision, and that's what's happening. And as a result of that, last week we were like, okay, so they've got to bring back Foggy and Karen. Let's get
Yeah.
it done. The reports are now coming out claiming that Foggy and Karen will be in Daredevil Born Again with the same actors coming back.
Which is great news.
This is a victory,
This is
an
a
absolute
huge
W.
victory.
Such good news. They did such a good job working on them shows. They are brilliant characters. We need them back. We get them back. This is exactly what we want to see.
Yeah. 100%.
Robert Downey Jr. He's obviously doing a lot of press work at the minute because it is award season.
Yeah.
And
He's
he's
Rome
obviously up.
is
Yeah.
with
He's
Oppenheimer.
up for a lot of awards for his stunning work in Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
But my man is showing some credit to his career.
Mm.
He's mentioned that he thought he gave some of his best acting performances during his tenure as Iron Man and Tony Stark in the MCU, but he thinks they went largely unnoticed because of the genre. And this is something me and you and a lot of other fans have said for
Yeah.
a long time, not just in regards to him, but in regards to all actors. Actors will turn up, put in absolute stunning performances, but they do just get kind of overlooked because, oh, it's a Marvel film, it's a DC film, it's a Star Wars film. Who cares?
Yeah. 100%. And I think it's. I respect him for like actually calling them out on it, essentially.
Yeah.
And like, of course, Robert Downey Jr. is the one to like do that as well.
There was a period of time when a lot of the OG MCU actors finished their time because their characters had moved on or whatever, where they were kind of like trying to distance themselves a little bit. And everyone was like, oh, see, they hated it. And I think now that we can see everyone talking fondly about it, I think they were actually just going, no, I need to distance myself so I can get a fucking job so that people can see I'm not just that character and then I can be nice again. That's exactly what's happened.
Yeah, they're
RDJ
just
distanced himself, went and cooked in Oppenheimer,
yeah,
and now that everyone's been reminded that he is a phenomenal actor, he's like, don't forget, I was doing this shit over there as well.
yeah. It's like they didn't hate working on Marvel. They just needed they just needed a fresh creative, and like they had to
Exactly
push away from Marvel and do something new. Also, can I just point out though, him calling out that like Marvel stuff got snubbed and like being like, yeah, you purposefully chose not to give us awards. It's such a Tony Stark thing to do.
Yeah. But it goes back to a clip that was doing the rounds. I don't know if it was from an award show this season or last year, but Angela Bassett obviously got nominated for an Oscar for her role in Black Panther Wakanda Forever.
Yeah.
And Mulaney did a bit and he's like, she's so good. She got nominated for an Oscar in
A Marvel.
for a role in for a Marvel film. That's like getting a Pulitzer Prize for a Reddit comment. And that gets this big laugh from and that just goes to show how the majority of the industry view these films. And it's
Yeah,
just crazy.
it's
Because I'm not being
wild.
funny, I'm not acting like they are the highest form of art to ever exist.
No,
The
but
themes and the stuff they tackle a lot of the time are very, very good.
yeah, and a lot of
Like,
these
let's
newer ones, like 20 years ago, yeah, okay, that superhero films weren't at this point, but like they've come a long way, and the writers on them are a lot better nowadays. And there is,
the modern superhero film has not shaken off the mid 2000s
yeah, that's the unfortunate thing.
feel. But we're getting there. And
Yeah,
actors winning Oscars like RDJ going, I acted no better in this than I did in the Marvel films is going to help.
yeah, it is.
Um, Andor news. Uh,
Yes.
Diego Luna, who of course plays Cassian Andor,
Hmm.
says that they've only got about a week left of Andor season 2 filming to do,
Yep.
and then the filming is done.
Which is
I'm
wild that it's not coming out this year. But then that makes me think we're going to
well,
get it
you've got,
very early. I know there's obviously post production.
but there's also probably going to be reshoots as well. There's
True.
always reshoots.
But like, but I reckon though we haven't got a day on it, I do reckon it's going to be very early 2025.
Around this time next year, we're getting ready for or have started Andor
Yeah,
season
for
2 for
Andor
sure.
season 2, yeah, for sure.
Now, I think I've spoken about my feelings towards horror games on the podcast before. I
Yes.
love horror games, but cannot play them because I'm a babyback bitch. But because I love them but can't play them, my favorite thing in the world to do is watch playthroughs of horror games
Mm.
because that gives me the perfect level. And one of my favorites is Until Dawn, which was a horror video game that had
Yes.
multiple different paths you can go down, but they
Right.
cast a lot of actors, including Jordan Fisher, as an actor that the Twitch and gaming community will know quite well,
Yeah, yeah.
in a lot of these roles. And I love it. It's a really, really cool story, very, very well put together. I believe it also has Rami Malek in it. Now that I think about it,
Okay.
let me
Pretty
just get
cool.
the Until Dawn cast up here because there are some genuine fucking names in here. Characters.
I feel like that means they
Give
have to
me.
cast these people then, right?
Well, that is part of the discussion that's going around here. So we've got Brett Dalton, who was in
Okay.
Marvel Agents of Shield as
Mm.
the agent who turns to ah turns into the Hydra agent.
Oh, okay.
You've also, I believe, got Brenda Song, although she might have been in a similar but different game if I'm misremembering potentially. Rami Malek is in it. You've got Jordan Fisher. Some like legitimate fucking actors gave this game a good old chance.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really good game that came out really well. The story's solid, but they're apparently adapting it into a film.
Which is interesting.
So the big issues you've potentially got are the game does rely on user choices. There is like
Yeah.
dozens of different endings.
Mm.
So the people who really want this to happen anyway have got two requests. They're like, work out every possible ending, film them all, and just send them out randomly.
That would be
Every
cool.
cinema gets whatever ending they get,
That
and you see
actually would
whatever
be a
version of the
very
film.
cool way of dealing with it.
And bring back the actors.
Yeah.
The story still works if you age the actors up slightly. It's not a problem. They don't need to be teenagers.
Yeah.
But bring back the actors because they all did a great job. They deserve it, and they are legitimate actors. They're
Yeah.
not just voice actors, and you've got models into. They face scanned the actual actors.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
did
Yeah.
the actual acting. The only issue I have with the first one
Mm-hmm.
is I'm going to ask everyone to cast their mind back.
Oh.
When Across the Spider-Verse came out, there
Mm-hmm.
was like 4 different versions in theaters
There was.
that had different Easter eggs
Yeah.
that everyone loved at the time. And then when it came out onto DVD, everyone was like, "Oh, it sucks. The one I didn't, or the one I saw is the one on DVD. So now I'm never going to get to see the other 3." So when a DVD of that film comes out, do they then have to give you the option to watch like all 12 different versions?
Um.
This is the problem. At some point someone still needs to decide what the definitive version is.
Nah, you could easily, with technology now, you could, if someone goes on Netflix and like play the Until Dawn film, it can randomly pick one of the
Is that
options.
where you'd go? Have them all on there, but every time you press play, you don't know what one you're gonna get.
Yeah,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
you can do that
Uh,
nowadays.
do you know what we've not done in a while?
What's that?
We have not told rich scumbag CEOs they're rich scumbag CEOs.
This is true. We haven't slated CEOs enough in
I
2024.
don't think, yeah, we've not done it, I think, at all this year yet.
No,
And
we
I'm a
haven't.
little bit angry at myself. So I'm just going to catch up real
I'm
quick.
very disappointed in you.
Bob Iger earned in excess of $30 million in 2023. This is when he spent most of his time that year telling actors and writers who wanted a fair wage they were asking for too much. Bob Iger, if this somehow makes it onto your desk, you're a piece of shit. I wish nothing but bad things on you. Sleep well.
Don't understand how someone can sit there and like essentially, I don't know if it was him that directly said that he wanted them on the streets.
Yeah, no, it was Bob Iger. It was
It
a
was.
Bob Iger quote.
So like the fact that he can sit there and wanted people to lose their houses over these strikes while he's cashing in $30 million for the year is
Imagine
just
when you,
like a wild mental place to be able to be in. Like how?
because like we're not talking about the superstar actors here. We're talking about the actors who are working actors who get by on their residuals. Like we heard so many
Yeah.
stories about superstars who, for a lot of their career, had to get by on residuals, and these guys were going, because of streaming services, residuals aren't good enough now. You need to amend our rights and come
Mhm.
to an agreement that we're going to get comparable residuals so that we can live off residuals again, as actors have always been able to do. And he is sitting there on his $30 million a year and his nice cushy job going, you're asking for too much.
It's it
What
baffles
on
me.
God's green earth?
Baffles me that someone
I'm
can
just
have
going
that
to say
mindset.
right now, all of the companies that were holding out on these strikes, I'm
Mm.
willing to bet if all their CEOs took a 50% pay cut, which would still be well within the top 1%, like comfortably, like probably top 0.1% of the
Mhm.
world, they would probably, just by doing that, have covered 90% of the extra costs.
Yeah. It's
There is no
yeah.
reason, there is no reason for
Unless
any individual to earn $30 million a year.
yeah.
And I'm going to say this now, maybe this gets thrown back in our face. If this podcast ever gets to the point where the two of us are somehow earning $30 million a year from doing this, I'm going to punch you in the head if we don't start donating obscene amounts
Well,
of money to reasonable causes.
here's the thing. If we're ever at a point where we're earning $30 million and we don't have that money going to pay for a team.
Yeah, I'm
Like,
talking about like, even if after we can do all that kind of stuff, like, I don't need to be that kind of stupid rich. I need to know my house is paid for, my bills are paid for, I don't have to worry about food, and I can play whatever new game I
mate,
want to play.
if we've got
After that, money's pointless.
that much money coming in, we'll start our own studio and start making
Just
our
to
own
just
films.
just to undercut everyone.
Yeah.
Fuck
We'll
it, let's
make
do it. Hey,
we'll
to be
make
fair, we've in about 10 years' time, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, that's starting into
yeah.
the public domain.
Well, you've got to be careful because the Batman logo and the Superman logo don't.
Hurry, you're a graphic designer. Design
Yeah,
new
but
ones.
like you've got to be they'll be very picky with that.
Yeah,
But I have
we'll
seen
find
that.
a way around it. We've got a lot of money. We'll work it out.
Yeah, so all this money we've got.
Well, I mean, in this hypothetical world, we do have loads of money. So,
Okay, yeah.
Ted,
Yes.
the Seth MacFarlane films. The first one was a masterpiece. The second one was a shit show.
Yeah.
Got its own TV series,
It did.
which apparently Peacock approached Seth MacFarlane about, not the other way around. They were like, "We think it's time. We want to do something with this IP." And he was like, "If you guys are willing to fund a fully CGI bear for that many episodes, and you're not going to half-ass it, I'll do it."
Yeah.
It's become Peacock's most watched original series already.
Yeah, apparently it's doing really well.
I've seen some clips. It's fucking hilarious.
They've done a good job with the writing from what I can see.
It is, some of the bits that have made it to
Yeah.
me via Twitter are They are like proper Family Guy, OG peak Family Guy bits.
Yeah, it's like and
Like,
like hitting that original Ted sort of like humor points.
yeah, really, really funny. I'm loving it so much. It's just like these moments, and like I've always said, one of my favorite things is when you've got someone who's kind of aware that people are being a bit weird. Like in a comedy where something funny but insane is happening. It's just that
Mm.
one guy going, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah.
And there's like a clip going around, and he's like, "Oh, we had an Indian kid going here last year, like the John character." He's
Mm.
like, "But they got to him," and Ted's just like, "What do you mean they got to him?" He's like, "Oh, he's really nice. He always brought cool food." It's like, what do you mean they got to him? Who got to him? It's just not addressed, and they just continue on with their day.
Yeah, I do love what like the Ted character is and how he is
Ted
used.
is an amalgamation of Peter Griffin and Stewie, who are two of the funniest characters
Yeah.
in sitcom history.
Oh yeah, it's like it's
Um,
just Seth MacFarlane going to be.
And another one that I really, really found funny was they're in school, and like the
Mm.
popular girl is horrible to the teacher, and Ted just shreds her to pieces. I think the teacher is like his mum or something, or like the equivalent to his mum.
Okay.
And he's like, and like you can clearly tell, like the theme of that episode was they weren't being as nice to her at
Yeah.
home as they should be. So he like overcorrected
Oh,
at
okay.
school,
Yeah.
and he's turned this really popular girl who sat there being all sassy and bitchy, and she's like in tears, grabbing her books
Oh, I
and
love
running
that.
out the door. And then John's just like, "Teddy, what the fuck?" And he's like, "Sorry, did I go too far?" Really funny.
I do like it because it's like Ted is essentially an adult person, but like he starts off being with a kid
Yeah, it's just
and
so
doesn't know how to
funny.
tone down. I did see that Seth MacFarlane said if people are wanting a season 2, like you've got to show it with the viewership, and like
They're showing it.
so. I mean, if it's the most watched, then I think there's a high chance there'll be a season 2
And
of this.
I believe in the UK it's available on Sky something.
Possibly. Which is then
So
probably
like
Now TV or something.
they've done the one thing that some companies seem to struggle to do, and they found a way to get it out of just America, which is going to help it.
Yeah.
So I do plan on finding time to watch it at some point, because it seems, I mean, with Family Guy being like my go-to like lazy watch, it
Yeah.
seems like it might be a good thing to go and grab. More Daredevil news that we should have grouped up, but suck it, it's our podcast. Daredevil Born Again is due to restart filming any day now.
Yeah.
The length of the series was originally reported to be 18 episodes.
Yeah.
That's now up in the air after the creative changes that we discussed earlier, with them changing stuff slightly and bringing the Netflix stuff in as canon. That might change slightly. I won't be surprised if we end up with about 12 episodes.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's maybe something like 12 because I feel like now the stuff's canon. There's kind of there's
less
obviously they're gonna
explanation needed.
yeah they're obviously gonna have to explain a bit of like what's been going on, but it is less of like setting up Daredevil in the MCU is needed if like we've already essentially had that. Which might mean though we do need to go back and rewatch Daredevil before this comes out.
Would you like my you know the meme with like the knives to the throat? Would you
Yeah.
like my knives to the throat take?
Okay, here we go.
I don't need or want a scene of Matt Murdock when the blip happens. I don't need or care to see him hearing half the heartbeats disappear. I think this is one of these things that people who don't make shows but think they know how to make shows, like we do sometimes, have decided would be really cool. But how does that fit into any kind of narrative they're trying to tell without feeling like obvious pandering at this point?
Yeah, I think before Echo, I would have still been very strongly on the idea of like I'd like to have Matt be blipped, and that's kind of why Kingpin got back into a position of power. Because we've seen Echo and we saw that Daredevil was still kind of rocking about, then that kind of gets rid of that idea. Which, yeah, I don't know if they necessarily need. The blip will probably be addressed because they're going to kind of have to address it somehow.
Absolutely. But I don't need like a 30-second scene of him having a panic attack as all these heartbeats disappear.
I
don't think that adds to the story like people think it will.
We'll more likely get the blip kind of gets him, maybe is his reason for getting back into the suit as much because he's like, suddenly everything's gone to shit and he needs to kind of.
That I'm okay with, but I just don't need like this panic attack scene everyone wants. I don't need it.